Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. We've got another great topic for you today. Liverpool in crisis, Jurgen Klopp exit talks. How big is this crisis at Liverpool, and is it something that really could lead to Liverpool looking totally different next season? Maybe even a Steven Gerrard return. We'll be talking about that on the show, and I want everyone to get their comments in as per usual. But look, without a shadow of a doubt, there are issues at Liverpool at the moment. Do I think Jurgen Klopp will leave Liverpool? Yes, I do. Do I think that this is going to happen this summer? I think that there's like anything, this book is still there being read. We don't know what the final chapter has in it. At the moment, they're 5 points off fourth place, which is Chelsea. But I think more tellingly, they can only get a certain amount of points, Liverpool. I think it's something around 70 if they win every single game, which I personally think Liverpool are capable of doing. I still think, for me, as a Manchester United fan, I don't want Liverpool to do well, but I predicted they would win the league this season. So just because they've had a few bad results and a few injuries, I don't think that they're suddenly a bad team overnight. And as I said, 5 points off Chelsea in fourth place, that looks doable. Of course it does. There's enough games left. Everyone's got 9 games left. They can do that. Their issue is, I think Chelsea are a very good team at the moment. And really, they should be looking at trying to catch Leicester or maybe Man United. But they're 10 points and I think 11 points or 12 points ahead. So that's very difficult to do with 9 games to go. So top 4 for Liverpool is going to be difficult. If they don't get that, they're in the Europa League, which then puts more focus on Klopp, I suppose. But obviously they've got the Champions League, and I would never count Liverpool out of winning a Champions League. So I think for Klopp to decide to go in the summer, something very big would have to happen. But there is always this thing about Klopp that he goes into a club, he gets it playing a certain way, and then they get tired. They get tired because of the way that Klopp's football is. It's very energetic, it's on the halfway line, etc., etc. But I must just say this. Liverpool fans won't like this. Manchester United fans might not like it either. But I do see similarities between Manchester United and Liverpool this season, in the sense that Liverpool's front three, injury-wise, hasn't really had many problems. They've had Firmino, Mane, Salah available for most of the season. And some people go, well, they can't moan too much, they've got those. But Manchester United, we've got Cavani, Rashford, Martial, Greenwood, Bruno. We've got a very good attack, but we don't score many goals because of how we play football. And I think this is the thing that, I've mentioned it before, and I think a lot of people agree with me on this, is that it's not just losing your centre-backs, it's losing your midfield as well. And that's very, very clear when I've seen Liverpool a few times this season. When I think of Liverpool when they play well, they've got a defensive line on the halfway line. Their fullbacks are basically wingers. They've got Mane and Salah in front of them, Firmino in the box. They've got midfielders that are very energetic on the press. And it's very hard to get out of Liverpool, because if you hit a long ball, you've got Van Dijk and Gomez and Matip who are quick and can deal with that. You've got Alisson who's a good sweeper keeper. If you try and pass through them, the press is swamping and it's very, very energetic. And I think Liverpool haven't been able to do that many times this season, because if you hit a long ball against Liverpool at the moment, well, the fullbacks have got to stay back because they've got to protect whoever's playing at centre-back, because Henderson, Fabinho and the players that they have used haven't got that pace or personality or dominance that a Van Dijk and whoever plays with him has. So the fullbacks don't push up as further, which means that then teams can also play out easier against Liverpool. In the midfield, they've brought Thiago in, but they haven't really had Henderson and Fabinho in there. And look, Thiago's no-look passes are great, but we haven't seen many compilations of Thiago no-look passes for Liverpool this year, have they? Because a no-look pass is only good if it actually gets there. I think there's been a lot of passes from Thiago that just aren't getting there, and I think the tempo is slow. And look at when I talk about Manchester United, the problem that we have is we play with the back six. We protect our centre backs because they're not particularly quick, which means that the ball doesn't get forward quick enough. And I've always said this, that whether you've played five-a-side football, Premier League football, pub football, whatever level of FIFA football, right? When you play against somebody who moves the ball quick, it's hard. Because if they're moving the ball slowly, you can organise, you can shout at your CDM, move across, you can tell your fullback to tuck in. But if somebody moves the ball quickly, you're focused on your own job. You ain't got time to be telling anyone else what to do. And this is what Liverpool have done very well over the recent years, is they move the ball so quickly that they create the space. And people, I've had United fans say to me over the last couple of years, how do Liverpool score many goals and create so many chances? How do they get so much space? And I would say it's because they move the ball quickly from back to front. They're very, very quick at doing that. And if you can move the ball forward and sometimes with one touch, then it's just simple, isn't it? The ball is moving quicker towards the opposition goal, and therefore the defence has got less time to get into position. Now, Manchester United, the way we play a lot of the time is it's side to side, it's have a look, it's put your foot on the ball, it's pass back. By the time you try to play the forward pass, the team is organised. And this is what Liverpool have struggled with, certainly since Christmas. They don't move the ball quick enough forward. You could have Mane, Salah, Firmino. You could have Neymar, Messi, Ronaldo. It doesn't matter who your front three is if when they get the ball, they're still up against two banks of four. And Liverpool have seen that. And also, they're more vulnerable at the back. So I think Liverpool this season, in a nutshell, have struggled, not because of centre-backs, it's because of the adjustment of those centre-backs being out of the team that's cost the rest of the team. Their midfield has been weakened because they've had to play midfielders there. Then they've lost midfielders for injury. Their high line is not as high as it was, and also the centre-backs they've got playing are not of the quality enough to say to Trent and Robertson, you just bomb forward, we'll deal with it on our own. So the whole Liverpool structure has changed. And, it was fragile. It was fragile, but it was also ridiculously unlucky in a sense to lose the amount of centre-backs that it did. But there was a very strong reliance on what Van Dijk and his partner did for that Liverpool side, and also their midfield has been fragmented. So, yeah, you can say that they've not lost players up front, but it's not always about what you've got up front. It's about how quickly you move the ball from back to the front, and it's about how many players you get forward, and it's about how high your line is, and it's about how much you press. Well, Liverpool can't play a high line because of their centre-backs. They haven't got the midfield they used to have to press, and they haven't got the full-backs with the licence to get forward as much. And maybe they're just a very tired team as well. Nobody talks about this. Maybe they're a very tired team. They are playing 3 games a week since September, every single week. And I don't think Liverpool's bench, even when everybody's fit, I don't think Liverpool have the bench that Spurs have or Chelsea have, let alone Manchester City. So tiredness is a factor as well. And that tiredness may be an overarching thing for Klopp as he reevaluates in the summer. Because if they don't win the Champions League and they don't finish in the top 4, they're back in the Europa League. Will he get money in the summer? Have Liverpool got the ability to go again next year? Well, it's a reset button. If everybody's back fit and Liverpool spend a bit of money, then Liverpool can go toe-to-toe with Man City. Forget Chelsea and Man United or bloody Spurs or anyone like that. They can do that. So are Liverpool a club in crisis? I think they are. Because I think it's a crisis when you win a Champions League and a Premier League and then you end up in the Europa League. That would be a crisis. Could that crisis be averted very quickly? Of course it could. I still believe Liverpool could, although it's unlikely. I still think they could get top 4. And I do think they could win a Champions League because they've done that before. They weren't expected to do that in 2005. They weren't expected to get to the final in 2007. So they could definitely do that. And then crisis is averted. And who would bet against Liverpool doing that? But if they don't win the Champions League and they don't get into the Champions League through top 4 and they are in the Europa League, then next season is a tough one for them. But I would expect that Klopp would look at that and go, well, I'm not walking away because, I don't want to do that. And also, we can use this to our advantage. We'll focus everything on the Premier League. The Europa League will be a side thing because realistically, it'd be nice to win it, but it's not the focus. And Liverpool would then, again, be a threat in the Premier League. Could Klopp leave in the summer? Of course he could. I'd say percentage-wise, probably 90% chance that he's going to stay. It's been a very difficult year for everybody. Some people have had difficult things going away from football, and we know that Klopp had that with the loss of his mother. And people do get tired of projects. He's put a lot into taking Liverpool from nowhere to Champions League winners and, more importantly, Premier League winners. So Liverpool are a club in crisis, but I don't think that story's been written yet. I still think there's a couple of chapters to go. They could drop deeper. They could be in the Europa League next year with no Klopp, or they could be in the Europa League next year and Klopp's like, let's go again. We're more energetic. I've got players back. Or they could end up with a trophy and everything's fine for next season, and this season was just a little bit of a blip. Of course, if Klopp did go, it'd be very interesting what Liverpool did next, and I suppose the question would be to Liverpool fans, would they go for Gerrard, having seen what happened with Lampard? But Gerrard may be a little bit of a different story. Maybe that's a story that's going to happen. I think that will happen at Liverpool at some point, but I don't think it will happen in the summer. So Liverpool definitely a club in crisis, but I don't think it's as big a crisis as some people would have you believe. But there is a bit of a story left to go. Get your comments in below. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Klopp will be here next year? Do you think Liverpool will just automatically go back to being the big rival with City next year? Or do you think there are bigger problems at Liverpool that are going to pan out over the next coming weeks and maybe years? Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new, bottom right hand corner, and I'll speak to you all soon.